1, go. Check out some audios quick. We are excellent connection. I like the sounds of that. All right, YouTube. We are all set on YouTube, and then that means at Facebook, we're ready to go as well. So welcome back to 100 Proof Whitetails. We are back down at the bar tonight. We have a lot to talk about. Opening of deer season is happened. We're sitting on the 4th right now of October. A lot of big things coming up this upcoming week. A lot of big things have already happened to some folks that we know. A lot of good topics, I think, tonight. Some good questions I had come in from folks over this, week leading up to season 2 that we can dive into and pick apart. But yeah, dude. So where have you been here, Nate? The first, 4 days of season now that we're into them.
Just my normal life. I haven't been out.
Home projects.
It's I actually went fishing opening morning.
There you go. Yeah.
With a friend of mine. But I'm gonna plan on getting out this weekend. We got that weather rolling in. I'm gonna try getting on the front of it. And this weekend's kind of not gonna happen for me either. My brother's getting married, so I got a ton of stuff going on.
Yep.
But this coming week, the temperature is supposed to drop down to the 50s, 40s at night.
Yep.
So, things are starting to look better.
Feel more like fall.
I'm getting a little more excited about hunting with the cooler temperatures coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, just this first week of October, so busy with my brother getting married, and last weekend we had a wedding for a friend of my wife's. So get these weddings out of the way, and hopefully things will slow down a little bit, and I can focus a little more on hunting.
Right. Yeah, me and my wife, we were up at a wedding as well this past weekend up at Loon Lake in the Adirondacks over by Lake George area, and it was good. The foliage was nice. Wedding was great. Good times there. But yeah, came back home, Sunday, and we came back. There was still time to get out for an afternoon sit at the time, and I'd shot my bow. Broadheads are all good, everything like that. I was ready to go. Had a light layer set of stuff that was all washed and ready. And I just got home, and I was sweating when I got out of the car, and I'm like, I just am not feeling this right now. And this whole week I haven't been feeling it either. I think we got up to like 86 today or something.
Sweating all day at work, and then coming home and wanting to get a quick shower and climb into my hunting clothes. Just not
on the top of the list.
It's not feeling it. Just trying to get some things tidied up. So when the hunting gets better, like, last week of October, first 2 weeks of November, hopefully I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. So we were talking this week off and on. We've been talking quite a bit. We have an event we're going to tomorrow, but it's going to be like 84 again tomorrow. But the front's coming in. We're looking at the radar. We're looking out at the 10-day forecast, everything like that. And this front coming in this weekend is more of what we like to see. Now, it's not this huge front drop from like 50s, 60s down to 30s like that we would really like to see here in late October, but it's still relative. If it's 80 degrees and it drops down to the mid-50s during the day, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a 30% drop.
Yeah.
So
that'll get you excited.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for that.
I had my fingers crossed, hoping that temperature drop that's happening this weekend instead of Sunday evening. I was kind of hoping it was going to happen Friday when the weather actually blew in.
Yeah, so it's going to start dropping Friday. I was thinking, and I still might, depends on what the weather does. Friday afternoon when the rain rolls in, might go out for an afternoon sit Friday because of that drop before. I think they're calling for almost 24 hours of rain. When that rain breaks, it should be good. So maybe Saturday afternoon. I know it just looks like rain all weekend off and on.
Looks like kind of rain all week this coming week.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit more the more that it's kind of developed and moved in. But I would definitely say that this would be our first kind of, this isn't our red sirens flashing sit alert. But if you haven't had a chance, it falls pretty nice with the weekend if you can get in between the showers this weekend for a set.
I'm kind of hoping as the days go on that those showers that are supposed to happen start like midday Friday kind of get pushed off to like nighttime.
Yeah.
So that the weather kind of rolling in, I can get out there for at least like the last couple hours before it really starts raining.
Yeah. Yeah. Friday feels good to me. It's early. I mean, I've never killed a buck that early. I think the earliest I've ever killed one was like the 14th or something.
I think a 28, like I think last year.
Yeah.
Was the earliest I ever killed a buck.
And that was what, 26th?
I think it was like, yeah, I think it was 26. Then you shot yours 27.
Yeah, right on that similar. And that was the big cold front drop.
That was like the first really good.
The really good cold front. We were sitting 50s and then we started dropping into 40s.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we were looking at then. But it's still relative, dude. I think it's going to be a good drop front. This time of the year, wouldn't be sitting those, those rut cruising pinch point funnels. I mean, you're still sitting food source. I think this weekend right here is a great weekend for hunting, a scrape line or something similar to that with it. Because of that rain, they're going to want to freshen them up post rain. That scent's a lot harder holding, when it's moist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure the scrape activity is going to go up quite a bit this weekend too. But food source, finding what's on the table right now. Soybeans are getting picked across the board. Corn's getting chopped. Alfalfa fields might be done with their last cutting, so might be a green food source. Might be got acorns dropping. Find that evening food source that they're going to, and backtrack it to bedding and get between them. And I still think that the bucks aren't moving very much from food to bed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to right now, especially with being this hot. They're not going to move very far at all.
I mean, all the good bucks I got on camera. I don't have any daylight pictures since the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everything I'm getting, I mean, they're still lingering around, but, it's that 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. range that they're in front of the camera and they're out.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean so that they're not out there, just they're not in front of the camera. But with this weather front rolling in, hopefully it gets them up and moving a little earlier in the day. We'll see what happens Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, Friday's where I'm looking. Getting the last of my hunting stuff washed today, and then the last load's getting done tomorrow. I'm probably gonna leave work at noon so I can get that all finalized. I got my bins broke down like I go through every year. Base layers are in one tote. I go kind of extreme with it. Base layers in one tote, hardware and stuff in another tote, which is harnesses, tree straps, buckles, all that kind of stuff goes in another tote. So it kind of fills my truck up because I like stuff in different things. And then I got my scent bag that's got all my outer layers in it, stuff that doesn't have elastics. Definitely none of like my base layer stuff. Anything that's got like a nylon-y waistband or an elastic, that ozone eats it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't put anything like that in there. Anything that's got like a bungee cuff or anything like that that's got one of those that chews that up too. So that's why. And then I have a dirty bin that also goes in my truck that gets put aside for a wash load sometime during season. Mostly base layers. Usually the outer layers, they're just touching me when I get dressed to the truck, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I do something similar. I don't have totes. I have bags.
Yeah.
I'll keep my unders in a bag and like my gloves and the smaller stuff, and then my bulkier stuff like insulated layers or anything like that. I have my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I'll put in another one, and then I have another one that I keep my boots in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and then that's the same thing too. Like boots don't ride in the truck; they ride in the tote in the back, an open tote usually.
Yeah. Or just in the bed of the truck.
Yeah, sometimes in the bed of the truck too. And then for spray, are you spraying down after you pull stuff out of the totes and stuff still, or?
I usually do a quick spray down. I use dead downwind
Mm-hmm.
I've used that for years. I really like that product. It's pretty easy to come by. You can get it right at Walmart.
Yep.
And it seems to work pretty well. I think, in my opinion, in my experience, it works better than Scent-Away or anything like that.
Okay.
I think the difference in that is that, which maybe Scent-Away's come along with this. I haven't really looked into it, but the dead downwind, they have the enzymes in it that eat odor causing bacteria.
Gotcha. It's
Those
a bacteria
enzymes,
killer.
yeah, it eliminates the bacteria, and that's what creates the smell is
Mm-hmm.
bacteria.
Yeah.
I do that, and then another product that I really like is Evercom by Conquest.
The little deodorant sticks.
The little deodorant stick. I'll usually have one of them, and I don't glob it on my boot. I'll just take it and just do a light little swipe on my heel,
Okay.
just to try and cover up a little more of my foot traffic going in, because that's the thing that's touching the ground the most and what is going to leave behind the most scent.
Yeah.
When you're walking in and out.
Right.
I've had pretty good luck with that. I've actually had deer with that, younger bucks. They'll actually cross my track and just kind of follow it right down.
Yeah. Almost curiosity takes over a little bit.
Yeah. I do like that product. That seems to work well. But that's kind of, when it comes to like the scent control, the products that I use, that's about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big urine fan.
Yeah.
I don't use any urine.
Yeah, we can dive into that deeper too.
A lot of people like that, and people have had success with it.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I don't like that it will linger, and the urine will get old. I mean, I feel like if you use it, you pretty much got to wash your stuff again.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't
It
want
gets that musty, gets that bacteria like we talked about, and it's not the same stuff that's breaking down your skin cells, all that other stuff that you get like on your clothes and everything. But my always thought and theory with the urine now is if they can smell the urine, they're gonna smell you. You know, and even if you brought it out on a drag and hung it out in front of you, like a crosswind or something like that, it just gets really gray as that being, the attractant or whatever that you want to be putting out there, because they're probably going to be smelling you when they're smelling the attractant that you're putting out there for a scent as well. Even in some of these box blinds and stuff like that, like I know of some folks that say they're completely scent free in a box blind. It definitely cuts down on your scent profile and your scent cone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to eliminate it, and nothing does. Even all the scent stuff we talk about, all the totes,
Definitely helps.
it helps and minimizes that profile. I think is what you're really going for. I use Shield products. They're out of one of the Carolinas. I've used those for a while. Back before it was even a Shield, I used it when it was Remington scent control products. Was the same stuff way back then, I think.
Which also doubles great for a wash after you're done gutting your.
Oh yeah, like, Nate's always like, "Hey man, give me that pump bottle, freaking."
Does work good.
Blood going. Yeah, so that's really nice. I do like I call them my roadside baths in the morning too. Like if I don't get a shower before the morning sit, I'll strip down in the morning and foam up and kind of take a little roadside bath. That I call them. But yeah, they make the pump. I actually ordered a brand new one. One will typically last me a season, usually, because you only need to pump it once or twice, like a thing of hand sanitizer, and you're good to go. And it's 12, 14 ounces in the thing. And I spray down, same thing, boots, pants, anything that's going to come in contact immediately with vegetation is what I try to target. Preliminary going into season, though, making sure your trails are mowed back and cut back so you're not brushing stuff away from you as much as possible.
Eliminating noise.
Yeah.
Entering, exiting.
Yep. And any of the stuff that you would be touching or rubbing up against clothing that might be, transferring scent, or like we said,
sticks off your walking path.
Yeah.
So you're not stepping on one.
Yeah, same thing with that. And then, like I said, rotating out your base layers so it doesn't contaminate your outer layers. So I like to always be swapping out every couple hunts. Usually every hunt, maybe I might get 2 out of a pair of socks. I have like probably 30 pairs of socks that I use specifically just for hunting.
Inside of those boots get the stinkiest.
Yeah, the boots definitely get the most sweat for me.
In the early season, I still wear my lacrosse rubber boots.
That's all I wear all season long.
And the light pants that I wear, I tuck inside them. Mm-hmm. So if you can't pull your pants over your boot, which I can't with the pants I wear,
yeah,
that scent is wafting out of your boot
right
while you're standing there. Yeah. When I have my insulated layers on, my insulated layers go over the boot, and it kind of contains more of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I've kind of always been more of a fan of tucked pants versus untucked, just because I feel like the neoprene or whatever you want to call on the outside of that rubber boot isn't going to transfer scent as easily to any grass or vegetation as like a pant or a fabric material will. So I like tucking them in, and then any of that, we'll call it low contaminated scent from being inside that boot, because the boots also go on the ozone boot rack. I forgot to, I guess, say that. The boots also go on the ozone scent rack too, and turn the ozone machine on them.
After every hunt.
Kill that bacteria out, pump it full of ozone. Yep.
I have an ozone one. Before that, I mean, just keeping them dry, because moisture is what grows bacteria,
yeah.
What gives you that smell. The ozone definitely helps eliminate that, but just by trying to keep them dry, just putting them on a boot dryer when you're done will help a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like I said, socks always get swapped out. I have about 6 or 7 pairs of underwear that specifically are hunting. So, and again, if you're driving by in the wee hours of the morning when I'm getting dressed and you see my truck at the road, don't slow down or shine the headlights on me, because you might get a free show, because I'm stripping right down. Usually I roll out of bed for a morning sit. I have my pajamas on or whatever, like a flannel pajama t-shirt. Mm-hmm. I jump in the truck, I go, and then get to the property. I'm stripped right down, dude. New underwear go on, new base layer goes on, socks go on, roadside bath or whatever as I go, kind of with it. So usually I'll do my top first, pits, horse bath, pits and pussies, bro. And get that ready, and then that'll be on the top, drop the bottom. The same thing, do my feet. I always like to do my feet with the foam, try to keep any of that, stuff that might be going on with, my work boots, scent on my feet, stuff like that. I want to try to eliminate that quick. Hit it with a fresh pair of socks, base layer.
And the fresh pair of socks.
Got to be fresh pair of socks.
Got to be a fresh pair of socks. I mean, once your feet get wet, because my feet sweat.
Yeah.
So, always a new pair of socks when I go out.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I prefer and exclusively for deer hunting, use a rubber or a neoprene boot. I don't use a leather or a hiking boot or something like that.
Same here.
I guess we'll call it for eastern whitetail hunting. Now, when I was out in Idaho, I definitely would not have wanted my lacrosse boots going up and down those hills and stuff all the time.
Definitely depends on
a hiking boot was definitely great for that, more so. But yeah, the gear and the early season is don't go in too heavy. Even if I do go out one of these mornings or evenings, even after this cold front drop, I'm still probably going to walk in my like Under Armour layer or whatever you want to call it, that wicking layer with the sleeves rolled up. Compression layer, sleeves rolled up. Probably my lightweight, I forget what they call them. I think it's the Savannah series or something of the scent crush or scent eliminator brand. I can't remember what brand those are. My super lightweight pants, and that's it. That's all I'll be wearing. Might not even be running a base layer on my legs. And then when I get in the stand, I might throw like a long sleeve camo shirt on, but definitely not a jacket or a hoodie.
Right.
And that might be an hour or two after I'm on the stand. It might be sitting next to me on the seat. Might be getting a little cool, sun going down, then I'll pull it out, throw it on. But yeah, harnesses all washed. And I have spare harnesses if they get, wet or stinky or whatever. I got extra harnesses too if I need to wear those. So extra ropes. Always carry one rope in the vest and then one rope in my fanny pack or my muff. That way I always have two no matter what. For the safety side of it, I think that's a big piece of it. Extra turnbuckles for clipping in. But yeah, I don't like leaving tie-in ropes or whatever in the stand. I like bringing those up with me. I don't have lifelines, but I have top ties that I tie in once I get up to the top of the stand. That's usually how I do it. I know everybody says you should have a lifeline every stand, but I forget what the count was this year. I think it's 39 sets with stands and towers and blinds. I think it's 39.
That's a bill there.
So yeah, it's been a long progress of some stands here, some stands there, and I have a pile of them that we were at the farm the other day, kind of doing inventory of stuff that's not even out either. Replacement stuff that's been bought or bought right at some point in time and is just stored away in the barn ready to use, or maybe that magical mid-season spot you find or see with an observation sit that you like. I can get in there midday, get it set up quick, let it soak for a couple days, and then go back in. Or even I like to set them, go back home, cool down, go back out, hunt that afternoon right in that spot. We've killed deer that way a couple times. Yeah, curious, and just getting in there before they notice something's different. And I'm hunting primarily exclusively out of ladder stands. I don't think I have any hang-ons anymore other than my mobile set or whatever you want to call it with a 3/4 sticks and that lone wolf climber that I use as my mobile stand or whatever you want to call it. That's about as mobile as I get. Other than that, they're all ladder sets, ground blinds, or towers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I run all ladder stands and yeah, ladder stands, and then gun season rolls around. I mean, I just pack a lawn chair and my shooting sticks, and I go set up on a field corner or somewhere on a field and just kind of play the wind.
Yeah, no, and then definitely this year I think I got to get after the does a little bit this year. So we'll see if I knock out a doe or two here early. I might try that. I guess they have a venison donation drop. They have a bunch of them if you go online, but the closest one to us, I guess, is in Romulus, and it's only about 20 minutes. So that's not horrible if I want to donate a deer or two this year.
Yeah.
And I encourage anybody to do that if you are worried about not having enough freezer room for a couple deer this year or whatnot, or maybe a second deer. Sharing it with folks that you might be falling on hard times. A lot of folks, we talked to our taxidermist when Nate picked up his buck the other day. Folks can't pay for their mounts because they lost their job or something like that. So, don't be afraid this time of the year, guys, to, reach out to folks and share some of your harvest.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that need it for sure. So I would like to donate a couple deer this year.
Yeah, I would like a donation spot locally. I mean, that one there isn't too far away. That's not bad. I've been kind of hoping something would pop up.
Phelps, Newark, Lions.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a 10-minute, 15-minute.
Yeah.
It says 20, but I don't know. 20 just seems to Romulus. I mean, you got to be flying, man. That's on the other side of Geneva, so.
Yeah.
But even Geneva, even if it was a drop spot in Geneva, that would be more, my speed. So I know they got to be more, quote, regulated cut shop, whatever you want to call it, inspected more heavily, etc. But if there was a way to do it with local food pantries, I think that would be a great option for local food to help out, the community locally, because there's a lot of folks that do need it. And
yeah,
and I know I give away some every year. My one aunt and uncle, they always want 3 or 4 packs of steaks, and that's usually this year they didn't ask for it because my uncle actually came out and shot one this year for himself. So they were all set, and actually I'm sure they probably have more than they know what to do with a full deer this year rather than just a couple packs of steaks.
Yeah,
but. But yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, a couple of our bucks we shot this year, nice big mature deer. Um, filling freezers, dude, with just like $2 of that size and caliber.
It's a lot of meat.
It's a lot of meat. And then I think you shot what, 2 does too?
I tagged out last year.
You were still tagged out? Yeah,
you tagged out.
You've been pounding the flatheads.
But I only put one deer in my freezer. I gave
you had a lot of family
and meat to family members.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt went through a divorce a few years ago, and she loves venison, and her husband always, got her venison when they were married, and they got divorced or whatever, and she doesn't hunt. And so she's like, well, if you get the chance, I'll take a doe. My grandfather, I usually try getting him one because it's hard for him, being 78, to get out there and do everything. Getting older, I usually give him one. I give my brother one. Give my cousin Caleb one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spread the wealth.
Spread the wealth. One deer, honestly, in our freezer is really plenty, especially, the deer we kept was my buck I got in archery season, and he dressed at 205, and that was a lot of meat. And we still have packages of burger, and I think I still got a package of steaks left that I haven't eaten.
Yeah, I have a couple. It just time got away from us this year. I had a couple, I call them corned beef roasts, kept out of a couple of out of both of the bucks I killed. I had corned beef roast kept out of them, and I just never used them this year. So I have 2 like really nice corned beef venison roasts. So I might do that here for late October, November. I might do like a corned venison, round again, because that is
Sunday meal.
That's amazing. Oh, dude, that's
yeah.
I love that corned venison.
The ones you did a couple years ago were really good.
Yeah, and that's just the seasoning right there at Runnings. Iron Skillet seasonings, I think they're called.
Yeah, if you guys are local, Runnings has a whole aisle dedicated to seasoning and processing deer.
Yeah.
Anything you want is there. Jerky seasoning, sausage seasoning, casings, grinders, vacuum sealers, vacuum bag. They got their
meat trays. If you're grinding, all that, everything.
If you're having trouble finding stuff at your local Walmart or wherever you go, take a trip out to Runnings. I'm sure they got it.
Yeah. No, Runnings is great. And they have one in Canandaigua. They have one in Brockport if you're closer up by the Cityway. Brockport, Albion, one of those two. Canandaigua, they got one in Clay, which is out more Syracuse folks. So they got them kind of scattered all over the top here, up around the Route 90 corridor.
Well, we were spoiled for a couple of years with Herb Phillipson's right in Newark. I was kind of bummed with that.
Herb's was tough though.
I loved that store.
It was a good store. It just seemed like a lot of stuff wasn't always in stock there. Like they didn't have a good inventory consistently. It was tough.
I liked that store.
It was good.
Quick stopping if you needed something.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Tractor Supply actually the last couple of years has stepped up their inventory of stuff too. I've gotten, I think it's the LEM seasonings from Tractor Supply. Actually, a little hack. Tractor Supply after deer season, the LEM stuff, they drop it down relatively very cheap, and so does Walmart. So if you're looking for end of the year buys for like game processing or seasoning, that's some of the time I load up on some of those seasonings. Or I bought a meat grinder at Walmart a couple years ago for like freaking nothing. Yeah. Nice LEM one that they were just trying to get out of inventory. So there's a lot of good opportunities postseason to be looking for that stuff. And don't be afraid to buy it on that first price drop rather than like, I'll let it drop down one more time.
Yeah.
No, if you can get it for 40-50% off what they're normally selling for, I would get it. If it's cheaper than Amazon, I would probably buy it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you harvest your deer and you plan on processing it yourself, I mean, you don't have to get everything done, that day. It's nice if you got a group of people, but if you're just one guy out there chipping away at it, you can just cube up a lot of your burger and just put it into freezer bags and freeze it, and then after season and after the holidays are done, you can pull all that out, thaw it out, and
grind day
and just pick a Sunday afternoon while the game's playing or whatever, and just work on making your sausage and grinding it then. I do a lot of that.
And even if it's not trimmed up all the way, like even if you got it cubed with stuff still on it, where you just got to do a little trim as it goes in the grinder.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. Cutting the big muscles out, dude. Once you learn to break down like a hind quarter,
which Bearded Butchers have a awesome
Bearded Butcher series is phenomenal.
Like the Bearded Butcher guys, like if you're actually looking how to break down a whitetail, I highly recommend going on YouTube and looking their videos up, because they lay everything right out right there in front of you, and they're
top sirloin, top of round, eye of round.
They lay
cut it right out.
It's awesome videos that they put out there.
So me, I usually I don't cut to specific cuts like that. I follow the muscle groups. So instead of taking out like the eye, like the top of round or something like that specifically, I'll take out the whole football, I'll call it.
You know what I mean? Football roast.
The football and that kind of stuff. And then that goes into roast meat or nice steak meat, or even I'll do those for like shish kebabs, that football round or whatever you want to call that. I'll cube that up, do for like marinated shish kebabs or something like that, real nice. Or crock pot, it works real nice in the crock pot for
football roast is a great crock pot roast. But those Bearded Butcher guys, they'll break down every piece of meat, every roast, every steak, and they'll sit there and they'll tell you, like, this is a great one to slice up for jerky.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you how to slice it with the grain, against the grain, depending on whatever you're doing with it. It's great videos. I highly recommend looking those guys.
Yeah, and they show you how to break down a hind quarter. You can have a hind quarter, pop it off the hip bone, have it on the table, broke down and trimmed.
Debone it.
10 to 15 minutes.
Debone it.
Deboned and it's broke up.
So I know growing up, my grandfather, whenever he cut his steaks, he always had the hind quarter, and he had his meat saw, and he'd leave the bone in. And you'd have all these bone fragments all over your steak or whatever, and you had to wash them off and then freeze them.
If you're not running a bandsaw for cutting steaks, if you're running a handsaw, like you said, you're running stuff back through the fucking meat back and forth. If you run a bandsaw, I've noticed they're a lot better, like Bernessels or whatever. They run it through a bandsaw usually. So
I mean, the average person don't have a bandsaw.
Yeah, you don't have a meat bandsaw set up.
But you can go to Runnings or Amazon and buy a nice meat saw for like $20-$30.
And even bone out steaks.
That's how I do all mine now.
Yeah.
I watch the Bearded Butcher guys, and they show you how to debone the whole hind quarter before you even break it down. They debone it, and then they break the whole thing down.
Yep. And they'll even talk about like taking the shank, throw that in a fucking crock pot, and make a fucking stew out of it. Or something, you know what I mean? Like they find these little minute cuts that almost just get put in a burger grind or something like that. They're like, do this, make asabuco with it. Boom. And it's just like...
Yeah, those guys are phenomenal. I really enjoy their videos.
Yeah, good series. It definitely show you how to waste nothing on a deer. Definitely really good stuff. This early season, most of my stuff goes to a processor just because I can't hang it for a night. But if at all possible, I like hanging for a night. I do like breaking deer down with a buddy or two. And like you said, just getting it into the parts and pieces. You pull out the roast, the nice cuts, stuff like that. Front shoulders if you didn't destroy them. Neck meat. There's a lot of really good stuff in the neck that you can do for crock pots. You can do for, I've done like little steak mini fajita kind of diced up cuts out of the neck before too. That's really good. And stuff a lot of people just throw right and grind, most of the time. Just grind it all down. And it's just like, there's some nice cuts up in there in the neck. Like
I enjoy my venison steaks and all of that, but I gotta say, like, in my household with, my wife and everybody, it seems like really just use majority burger for
a lot of it's ground.
A lot of burger. So I mean, I do grind a lot of it. I save the main cuts, back straps, loins.
Yeah, that goes on the grill or something like that's
But a little tip that most people probably already know or could figure out, but something that I did a couple years ago when they started coming out with these smart TVs. So in my shop, the deer shed, I actually went out and bought a little smart TV, and my Wi-Fi reaches out to it. So on a Sunday, I got a deer hanging. I go out there, turn the football game on, call a buddy over after his hunt or whatever.
Yep.
He'll swing in, or my dad's always up for cutting
Cutting. Yeah,
deer, or
Blamp
my
loves to cut.
grandpa. He's
Yep.
all about the camaraderie after the hunt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll come over. We'll have the game playing. We'll have coffee, and then as you're cutting up, I get the charcoal grill going outside.
Yep.
We'll have the game playing.
Dice a couple pieces on the grill.
Throw a couple steaks on the grill or whatever. You have a snack as you cut your deer up, and still watch the game. If you're into
some of Grandpa's hooch.
Yeah, have some beers, whatever whatever your thing is. And a big football fan, I'm always checking in on the games when I'm in the stand, fantasy football or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to be able to process the deer, still have the game on, and I got family members that are into it, so they come over and give me a hand with friends.
Right.
But
and again, for breaking down deer, we talked about like having a saw, this, that. You can do a whole deer with a fillet knife. I prefer a fillet knife or a boning knife.
Yeah,
a little bit stiffer than a fillet knife.
Yeah.
Kind of the same shape, a little bit wider, a little bit thicker.
And a great knife set is that was it Outdoor Edge?
Okay.
Is Outdoor Edge the one with the blade?
The interchangeables? Pops? Yeah.
That's not that one.
Okay.
What's the one I used? I'm drawing a blank. But
might be an LEM set or something.
No, it's not an LEM set. But I mean, you can buy them and they're only like $20-$30. You get your boning knife, your skinning knife. It comes with a sharpener, and it all comes in this nice little kit. They're nice, well built.
Yeah.
I gotta think of the name of it now.
So I run a LEM boning knife for the breakdown, and then if I'm trimming pieces for grind or maybe even cutting steaks, but cutting steaks are something I'll usually do with the boning knife too. I grab like an old, whatever it is, Eagle Claw brand fillet knife from Walmart. I get one season out of it. Yeah. That's my trim knife for the year. Like when I'm trimming up burger, getting the fat off or the silver skin, they last fine for a year. You can't really resharpen them. Mm-hmm. They don't hold an edge, but they're like $7. Yeah. And that's your trim knife for the year.
Silver skin when you're trying to get that.
That fillet knife is a kill. So a boning knife, fillet knife, you can get both for under $50 for even a solid boning knife and a $10 fillet knife that'll last you for 2-3 deer, easy for the year.
And another little tip that I've learned myself over the years is if you have a knife that you really like,
buy a couple.
Well, not that, but yes, but no. Not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is like because I just run one of them little run-through sharpeners, just to touch up the edge where it's got the coarse side, little Walmart pocket sharpeners.
A little finer, yep.
And only use that knife with that sharpener. It's a pair.
Yeah.
Because you keep running multiple knives through those little sharpeners. Each knife has a different angle edge on it, and you're and you want that file in there or that stone that's in there to wear to your angle of that knife. Mm-hmm. So if you pair a sharpener with that knife, you're gonna be able to keep that knife sharper longer, and you're touching that edge up is gonna be way easier.
Yeah, for sure. No, so yeah, I mean the little kits are really nice, but like I said, that's all you need to break down a deer. Like you don't need to.
With a pocket knife.
Even after watching, especially like the Bearded Butcher and stuff like that, give them another plug for sure. You don't have to even hang them to break them down. Mm-hmm. You can peel and do them everything right on the frickin' garage floor. Yeah. I like. They also have like really nice big stainless tables. I wish we had big stainless like industrial tables because that looks so much nicer to be able to flip it, cut it, pull it off.
Yeah.
Rather than hang it, because hanging it can kind of be a bear to break it as you hang it, kind of deal. You got one quarter still holding up the spine and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always open to like little new tricks and techniques and stuff like that with for breaking down game and stuff like that. So every time I see one of them little like hack videos or something like that, that's something I always really like to groove on because mostly growing up, we didn't break down our own. Most of our stuff went to Bernessels or wherever, and it got processed and came back in the freezer paper because Back then, dude, I remember when Bernessels was only like 30 or $35 a cut.
Yep.
And back then it was just like shit for the day or whatever, and it's all wrapped up. They call you when it's done. That's great. I think Bernessels is probably up to 60 now.
For Nestles, I think they were up 75 last year.
Was it 75?
Almost 80 just for your basic cut.
Which is still a decent price. I know guys that are paying 100, 100 and a quarter for, a price, for a cut. So it depends. Bo Hunt, late to the show, says major cold front coming in this weekend.
Yeah, we were touching on that.
That was first on the docket, man, but
it is
a good reminder.
So that knife set, David Todd said Outdoor Edge. It is Outdoor Edge. Is the kit that I use. And it's a great product. Awesome quality knives, cheap. I mean, you get one in here, it's got the bone saw, it's got the your skinny knife, your bony knife, your trim knife, the sharpener, even comes with a bunch of gloves and everything for like $50.
Yeah.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
You got orange handles on them.
Yeah.
And
Bo, you're good. Don't need to say sorry, man. It's a good reminder to the folks that are tuning in now that weren't here when we first got on. But that was first on the docket. Was not the red flashing light set alert, but like this is that first cold front, coming
weather
in.
Front really rolling in season.
Yeah, the first one.
And yeah, it's got me and Ben a little excited. Definitely giving us a little kick in the butt to get out there for sure.
Yeah. So, no, looking forward to that. Definitely. And again, with the cooler temperatures going into next week, it's almost to that point where hide on, you could probably let the deer sit, overnight and be okay. Still, you get down to the 40s,
next week, probably,
30s and 40s, you'd be all right. Definitely not now. I wouldn't let that thing, you got to get it home, get it cooled off. And we were going to have, and we'll see if he's interested in coming on, our buddy Andy, who cuts at Bernessels, was going to come on and talk about deer preparation, and maybe that's a good one to try to reach back out to Andy. I know we heard he might have been in the hospital or something recently, but have him come out and talk to folks about, because he was telling us, stuff that we would never even think about, like, don't hose out your deer, because that can introduce bacteria.
Yeah.
You would rather have, any material left inside the chest cavity, I guess we'll call it, from field dressing to be left in there rather than washed away to let that bacteria soak into it, because you wash away some of that protective layer separating that.
Yeah.
For example.
And I've been guilty of it forever. You get
flushing them out,
rinse them out with a garden hose, and then hang them up.
Yep. And he was like, no, he said just gut them, do them, and get them out. Other stuff like, stuff he sees a lot, freaking, the asshole left in there, piss bag left in there, getting that stuff out. Obviously is huge for game prep. Make sure your temp's right. Hanging them, not just leaving them lay on a garage floor or something like that. Get them hung up.
Yep,
because they'll flat side out, and then you'll get that one side that just spoils out. And usually that spreads out to the rest of the deer. And you'll see that with some deer you even have to let go overnight because of a marginal shot or something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so.
Yeah. Then I guess going back to touch on a little bit about scent control. I guess kind of looping back around a little bit. The best way to kind of look at it is what you said, is that you're never really going to eliminate your scent 100%. You want to take these precautions and do these steps or your process to try and minimize it. And if you think of it from a deer's point of view, so a deer measures scent by particles per second when it breathes in. And if you can eliminate the amount of particles that are going through that deer's nostril by doing these processes of scent control and everything. So if that deer is 100 yards away and it's smelling you and you don't take any precautionary or whatever, that deer knows you're around.
based on your scent volume.
Your
We'll
scent
call it volume.
your scent volume going
Mhm.
out. So what you're trying to do is minimizing it. So when that deer's at 30 yards and you're only putting so many particles through that deer's nasal cavity, the sinuses, that deer may think by the amount of particles it's smelling that you are 100 yards away, but you're actually 30.
Right.
So that's kind of what you're trying to get at. You're trying to get that deer as close to you as you can by minimizing that scent volume that you're putting out, because he's going to smell or she's going to smell something.
Right.
If they get downwind from you. So I know a lot of us have probably experienced this, is when you have a deer come in and they're hanging up at 50 yards because they don't really like something. Mm-hmm. Chances are they probably smell something.
Picking something, yeah.
They're picking something up in the wind. And if they're just kind of standing there trying to like figure out, like, all right, they're trying to figure out
something's
what direction you're coming. That direction. How far away am I from that? Mm-hmm. All this is going through, their process. So you're never really going to eliminate your scent completely, but if you can minimize the amount of volume or scent particles that you're putting out into the atmosphere, into the wind, mm-hmm. and trying to fool that deer that you are actually farther away, the danger is farther away from it than what you actually are.
Yeah.
Is how it was kind of explained to me at one point, and it made a lot of sense.
No, that breaks it down to a really easy, if you just want to put it out there, like 100 parts per million, these are made up numbers, 100 parts per million makes it seem like you're 100 yards away. The deer's picking up on 30 parts per million. They think you might be 30 yards away based on the amount of volume of scent they're taking in, but really you're 100 with a lower scent profile.
Right.
Yeah.
And the farther away you are, obviously your scent will disperse, and your scent cone or your scent volume is going to disperse the farther you get out, and they're not going to pick up on as much.
Yeah.
So I hope that maybe helps somebody kind of understand a little more of what a deer is doing when they do pick up on your scent, because they will. It's inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. During a season, I mean, if you go through a season without, getting winded or whatever, and I'm not talking about everybody thinks that you get winded and you get a deer that blow at you. If you are watching a deer's behavior and posture as they're coming through the woods, and that changes for whatever reason, something has changed in the habitat that they don't quite like. They smell, hear, see something not quite right. When that body language changes is when, you start to look at that. It doesn't have to be the all-out blow, stomp, run to the next county.
That's doing that. They pinpointed you.
Oh yeah, they pinpointed you, saw you, combination of both, or you just smelled like you crawled out of the nearest truck stop or something, and they were not all about it. Bo says, do you guys use ozone?
Oh yeah.
Yep. So ozone in the stand, I don't.
Like ozonics, the ozone cone above you.
Yeah.
I do not use that.
I don't use an ozone generator for that. I don't use one in my vehicle anymore. I used to use one when I wasn't riding in it, but I use a scent tote or a scent bin with an ozone machine, and then I have a portable duffel too that I use. I had a scent closet that is now Nate's, that has changed hands a couple times.
Yeah.
I moved, couldn't have it in my new house because of lack of space at the time. Sold it to my buddy Jake, who then sold it to Nate for less than I sold it to Jake for. When I should have told him. So Nate has my original ozone machine.
Yeah.
And my original ozone closet. But yeah, so I think the totes work good. The bags, the duffels, they work well. I use a boot ozone machine from Scent Crusher. I think Nate does as well.
Yeah, I use the Scent Crusher ozone boot machine. Yep. But, I mean, you don't have to go out and buy the Scent Crusher product.
No.
You can go on Amazon, and all is really the Scent Crusher product is just a portable wardrobe closet. And you can go on there and just buy a portable wardrobe closet for probably like $30 $50.
Yeah,
And
it
then
depends on the size. Yep.
and then just go on there and search ozone generator, and you can buy a knockoff ozone generator and
Which looks
just
exactly the same, just without the name tag on
without
it.
the stamp. It's like buying John Deere, you know. So you can actually make your own ozone closet for under $100 on Amazon. Just go buy the
Yeah.
portable wardrobe closet, whatever size you feel like you need, and go on there. I think the ozone generator is like $30 also. So for
Yeah.
70 to $80, you can have your own ozone closet. You can hang all your hunting stuff in, organize it, shelves, whatever, for under $100 on Amazon, and it works just as good.
And I mean, you've seen my hard case, which is a Husky or some, Tractor Supply, Lowe's knockoff brand like tool
Yeah, just
chest. I drilled
ones that keep the moisture out.
Yeah, one that can seal up, take the moisture out. I drilled a couple holes in it, put a bracket on it, slid the generator on it, ran the hose with a drill into there with the hose.
Same
So it pumps
diameter as
out.
a hose, so it's
Yep.
a little tight.
Pumps it in there. Yep. So you got to put it through silicone a little bit on the outside, and I got a ozone tote. When I say tote, it's like a rollable little tool chest thing that's got an ozone machine sitting on the outside of it. It's a tool tote.
Yeah.
But that's what runs my harnesses specifically, and that kind of stuff is in that hard case. And then my duffel is my outer layers typically, and I kind of rotate that out as temperatures or season changes.
Yeah, but I mean, ozone, that was a game changer for me once I actually started using it.
Yeah, I think it's a great product for sure.
That is definitely helps. Obviously, you need to still take your precaution, wash your clothes after they get wet or dirty or whatever. You still need to wash them. I'd still air dry them outside, and then
I need to pull mine down before I go to bed,
or in the closet, and then after they're dry, I put them in there and I hit them with the ozone. And I usually give them like a 5-minute ozone bath before I go out in the woods.
Yeah, give them a quick little hit,
little shot,
little hit. Yep. And I was usually doing it throughout the day back when I had the closet too. I'd leave for work in the morning, hit it with a 30-minute. Yeah. Get back from work, hit it with a 30-minute while taking my shower.
I like the smell of ozone, honestly.
Yeah, well, it's a natural known carcinogen, so don't sit there and just, hammer down on it.
I'm not doing whippets of the stuff.
Yeah, not doing whippets of the ozone. Bo says, what are you guys wearing for boots?
Lacrosse, arrowheads. They're a little more on the pricey side. You're going to spend a couple bills on them, but for weight, when it comes to everything that you really look for in a good boot, durability, comfortability, weight, it's got it all.
Yeah, I think I run it's the Burley series maybe.
Yeah, that's a little heavier boot.
Lacrosse Burleys. Maybe the light insulated though. I don't run like the 1200 gram thin slate or whatever. It might be like a 200s or a baseline. I also run a Lacrosse. It's an uninsulated that I use for turkey hunting. I usually use that early season. Those really like almost like the old school rubber boot that you used to wear when you were a kid that has like no lining whatsoever.
The puddle jumpers.
The puddle jumpers, you got it. The Lacrosse puddle jumpers. Take the insoles out, and I like to put in. I just go to Walmart and get the gel insole ones because I like that little bit cushier feel to my boot, versus like maybe the stuff that comes in them. The Lacrosse Burleys have been decent, but that really base rubbery Lacrosse boot, I don't know what those are. I can't remember right off. But those ones I've swapped out the insoles in before, and I think that makes a huge difference on the comfortability walking to your stand to and from, and not having your foot maybe have that ache or pain or hot spot or whatever with that rubber boot, because they can be pretty stiff, and rub them wrong a little bit. Yeah. And also don't be afraid to walk your boot a little bit before you hunt with it, rather than just brand new boot, October 1, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying wear them to work and get them all stanked up, but walk them around the yard and the grass, that kind of stuff, and but yeah, Lacrosse is what I've been running the last couple of years.
I haven't found a better brand than Lacrosse. I fell in love with them I first bought them.
Yeah, I think they're a great bang for your buck boot.
Across the board, I don't think it gets better than Frost.
Yeah, and then rubber, 100% rubber neoprene or whatever you want to call it boot. Like we said, don't like the leather composite mix for the stuff we're hunting here in the Northeast, as a general rule. But so I had a topic that got posed to me, that what do you think in the last, we'll just say 50 years, has caused the death of the most deer in the last 50 years for a piece of gear, technology, equipment, etc. Last 50 years. What do you think? And you don't even have to say top one. Top couple things you think that have increased the success rate for folks over the last 50 years.
That's gear wise.
Yeah, gear, equipment, etc.
I would have to say the advancements in scent control.
Okay.
I would have to touch on that. I mean, that and game cameras, one of the two.
Yeah, I would definitely say cameras are up there. And the other one that I would say has made the biggest impact on harvest success is Onyx and mapping softwares and stuff like that. If you talk to folks back in the day, you would have to literally go down to your local county office, talk to the lady at the county office, pull up a tax map, find the tax map, which didn't have topos, didn't have satellite imagery. It had just parcel lines.
It's definitely technology across the board.
Yeah, technology across the board for sure. So, but I would say definitely, I would say Onyx and mapping stuff, and yeah, I think that's the biggest one in my opinion. The mapping side of it, and I still don't think that folks use that to its utmost potential. And then obviously trail cameras, because people know what's out there, which both of those can lead to good and bad.
We got a few people chiming in on that subject.
Good comments coming in. Bo Hunt says rangefinder. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. But I remember back in the day using a rangefinder, but back when it was looked like something off of Star Wars, like that they were
scoping the old Vietnam movies that they're
scoping out
with.
Yeah, rangefinder this big. But we used to put ribbons at specific trees, different colored ribbons at stand sites for different distances.
Mm-hmm. I always paced it out and did the ribbon thing.
Okay, yep.
Like I would pace out when I sighted in my bow. Like, all right, it may not be exactly 20 yards, but 20 paces.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at my stand, when I set it up, I would pace it out and make a little mark somewhere.
A little ribbon or something, or that maple tree.
Break a tree branch, or that stump right there is 32 paces.
Yeah, yeah. So rangefinder, I think that's definitely got some merit for sure.
Yeah.
Sabot slugs, says Dallas.
Sabot slugs.
The advancement in ammunition and technology. Yep.
Yep.
Where some of these states couldn't hunt.
Definitely Sabot slugs before they legalized rifle.
Oh, 100% before
Definitely
rifle.
Sabot slugs before they legalized the use of rifles in our area.
Mm-hmm. David Todd says Gore-Tex lets you stay in the deer woods longer. The advancements in clothing, I would say, it's not your white or red long johns.
your red or green flannel.
Yep, with the long johns underneath. Yeah, those are all good stuff, definitely for sure. Yeah, and good stuff that we didn't really think about. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, and it depends also on your style and how you hunt too, based on what you think has been most effective for the last.
The advancements in, if we just go to bows, the advancement in bows, switching from those old aluminum arrows to those carbon
more
arrows.
Efficient carbon, yep, or carbon hybrids, yep. Bo Hunt says arrow guns.
Arrow guns.
That's
you see that new one now? I think it's been out for a little while.
Even know.
You can actually, it's not as good as Van Helsing's automatic crossbow, but you shoot it and you pump it. And it knocks the next arrow. It's got like a cartridge that just bumps the next arrow up. cock
like a
it and
spring
you
loaded
shoot.
shot.
Yeah, that thing's pretty wild.
Yeah. Dallas says compound bow inline muzzleloader. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking a bow, like when I shot my first deer, that 8-pointer over there with the busted brow tine, I was shooting, I think it was Crescent Archery. I don't even know if they're still a company. They probably got bought out and absorbed. Um, and that was a nice bow at the time, dude. I was like, God damn, I can pick this bow up. It's super nice. Inline muzzle loaders versus the old side locks. That's big.
Yeah.
That's last 50 years.
Yeah, those muzzle loaders are basically just a rifle now. And
Oh, you can set them up, dude.
I mean, I'm comfortable shooting up 200 with my muzzle loader.
Oh yeah, if I was off of like a rest or a solid set, at 200, I think with 100, even with 100 grains, I think I could do it. You run 150 usually, right?
Yeah, 150, 3 pellets, and 245 power belt.
Yeah.
I
They're tack drivers, dude. If you
Up
got
to
them set with
150
your,
yards, I think it only drops like 4 inches.
yeah, you're not far. I think I'm with 2 pellets. I'm third line at 200.
Yeah, with the bullet drop
Yep,
indicator.
with the bullet lot. Then I have a reticled scope in my muzzleloader for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever decide to, because I do have some utility right of ways on some of the properties I hunt or ag fields, that if I can range a deer and shoot them effectively, I just know, hey, third spot down.
That goes back to the rangefinder.
Goes back to the rangefinder. So that's a good point. Definitely a good point. Whereas before it was
knowing your yardage.
Whereas before it was like,
I
I think about top of the back. We're gonna run it there.
That's about 150 paces.
Yeah. Yeah. Dallas says, hang on stands. Stand. It's definitely not home built as much anymore. I rarely see home builts now on properties.
Yeah.
The old,
I know of
pounded in 2x6s.
It's like the Taj Mahal. That thing's pretty wild, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's still in use.
Yeah.
Most of them are just all falling down, dilapidated at this point.
Yeah. And again, that's just, that's the fact that you can go to a Walmart, a Bass Pro, a Runnings, and get a solid stand set up for under $150. I think you could get a nice stand for, $100, $150.
And, I feel like a lot of people walk through, they start hunting a new property and they walk through their property and they see that old dilapidated wooden stand and they kind of laugh at it. There's a reason that stand was there
100%,
30 years ago.
100%.
When you're hunting a new property, take into consideration there's a reason that person took the time to build that stand.
Hauled that stuff in the woods.
You're not just taking a stand out and plopping it up now.
Mm-hmm.
And just, all right, I need to move it 50 yards that way because I need to be there.
Yeah.
This is like, those stands were built for a reason.
Yeah.
So take that into considerations of hunters in the past that have been there.
Yeah.
And kind of keep that in the back of your mind while you're hunting it. Like, there's a reason that stand's there.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 or 5 guys in a weekend to get out there to put a stand up.
There's a reason
build
for
it in. Yeah.
There's a reason for it. It's probably 100%. A pretty good spot.
Yeah. Whether it's a bench, saddle, whatever reason. And it might even have been simple as Uncle Joe shot a fucking 150 out of there 20 years ago off of a bucket, and we put a stand in there the next year.
And things change over years. But if you're hunting a new piece and you walk through it and you see that old dilapidated home-built stand, just keep in the back of your mind, there's a reason why it's there. And
backtrack
think about it.
Scout it, think about it.
Yeah.
And,
take all the knowledge and be like, why did they build that there? Look at your topos, look at all that, and be like, actually,
that's a pretty solid spot. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, hang on stands, dude, and stuff has gotten so light comparatively to what it used to be for some of the original mobile hang on ladder stands. I mean, stuff's with aluminum now, all sorts of stuff for that. So, Bo says, talk about technology. Did you guys see the deer take in Minnesota with the implementation of crossbows? They say it took 40% of the archery harvest within the first 10 days. I haven't heard that right off. The Minnesota data. I know New York State so far hasn't quantified the archery take crossbow versus, we'll just call it vertical bow, compound, recurve, longbow. etc. when they've reported their harvest data. So no, I haven't heard that. I've heard some states like Ohio is pushing that 50-50 mark for
Mm-hmm.
vertical bows. We'll just call them versus horizontal or crossbows. Um, it makes a big difference. I mean, where it comes down to um, the discipline, and I guess we'll dive down this rabbit hole. We'll give it about another 10 minutes for the show tonight, just to dive into this rabbit hole just slightly, and we might pick it back up next week. So with crossbows, I'm for it as a general rule, meaning older individuals and legitimately older individuals, um, first time hunters, etc. Um, I don't agree with the crossbow narrative for somebody that's just flat out lazy, if that makes sense. And I'll call you straight out that it takes time, discipline, etc. to shoot a compound effectively. And to also know the limitations of that. And just because it's a crossbow doesn't mean you can shoot 80 or 100 yards with it either. You might be able to do that on paper, and you and me might be able to stand out there with our bows because we practice a lot with our compounds and shoot, 80 yards on a big bag and, drop them in there. It doesn't mean we're shooting deer at that range. It's still an archery piece of equipment. You still need to treat it like archery tackle. Are there people that have killed deer that far? Absolutely. There's people that have killed deer out to 700-800 yards with a rifle. Doesn't mean you should take that shot if you don't practice it. No.
Right.
Think about it. It's a living, breathing animal, and there's people that can make those kind of shots that put in days worth of range time versus somebody that goes out there, pulls the bow back, puts it on the bag, shoots the crossbow at 40 yards and says, I got enough lines on my scope. I can shoot him to 80. That's the problem I have with it. I think that as a rule with crossbows, it's 40 and under, just like a vertical bow. I think they're capable to do it. I think a vertical bow is capable of doing it. I just don't think it's ethical or responsible to do it. That's my take on it.
Mm-hmm. So,
So,
I mean, if you want my opinion, I'm got a little different opinion about the crossbow thing. I think you want to hunt with a crossbow during archery season. I mean, start October 1st.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair.
I got a different view on it, I guess. I mean, if anybody wants to use a crossbow, I mean, then use it. I really don't think there's really a whole lot of advantage to it. I mean, it's definitely a little simpler. But the crossbows also have, their cons too. They're bulkier. They're, I would say, yeah, they're easier to probably sight in and easier for someone to use.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in my opinion, if someone wants to bring a crossbow out and gets them out there doing it, then, and they don't have the time or they don't want to take the time. I mean, it's still their right to go hunt.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I honestly think if October 1st, start at archery season, crossbow, everything. I'm
right.
not against that.
Okay. And I agree with that as well from the standpoint of if that leads to more deer recovered and tagged, and tagged.
So this also goes back to where I do agree with you in the sense that you still need to take ethical shots. Those shots over 50 yards with a crossbow,
or a vertical bow, or a
vertical bow, you're pushing it. I mean, has it been done and people do it? Yeah.
It can be done. It's not that it can't.
But, I mean, the farther you're shooting, there's so many more variables that can happen that can wound the animal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just,
I mean, we might ruffle feathers with that take. Wow, either side of it. I might be too liberal. You might be way too liberal. So, but again,
I mean, it's almost the same thing as allowing rifles into gun season. It's the same idea. You're just stretching the yardage out more.
You're stretching yardage or opportunity, whatever you want to call that, as a whole. But again, you still, especially with,
you still got to be a responsible hunter.
You still have to have that moral compass, and that's the dilemma we have is having that moral compass as a hunter to know that that's your limit, no matter what. And that's tough. That's a tough line because it's a gray line for either person. I know people that shouldn't be shooting 20 yards with a compound bow. As an example. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. So, all right.
Got a few comments rolling on. What are those
there? Brett Ford said, "Do you think it's too late for fertilizer 4500? For example, yeah, for urea, something like that. We got rain coming this weekend. No frost coming in the foreseeable future. If you got to fertilize a cereal grain plot, brassica plot, etc., 4600 urea, not 45, 46, would be a fine one to do for that. This time of the year. Typically, we don't have these warmer temperatures going into October, but we got rain coming, so you're not going to have volatilization. So, yeah, Brent, I think it's a decent time to get some stuff out there. Get it out there midday or something like that. If you spread it, let's just say Friday we got rain rolling in. Mid-morning, midday Friday before the rain. Rain's going to wash it in, not going to volatilize a lot. Temperatures dropping, you'll be good to go. Let me rotate it back up a little bit. Got some good comments coming in. Aaron Lehman comments in and says, take a doe first, then a buck with a crossbow. He thinks also have an age limit or disability limitation for it. It's good points, everything like that as well.
That's kind of how it was
previously and stuff like that.
To when they instated it.
I know it's getting, if you want to call it, easier now to get a crossbow exemption with your doctor's note or however that falls in now. I don't agree with the earn a buck, which again, these are all little rabbit holes. The earn a buck, shoot a doe before you shoot a buck. Some areas don't need to have does shot.
I want to be able to shoot both of them, fill both my buck tags in archery season.
Yeah. I also agree with that too. If you have the right piece of property,
I have 2 buck tags. Why should I fill both in archery season?
Yeah, as a responsible targeted deer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so the earn a buck thing, it doesn't really work. They've kind of shown that with some of the data with the shoot a buck or shoot a doe before you shoot a buck. What that actually leads to is an increased harvest of button bucks in the antlerless harvest because guys need to shoot that antlerless deer to get their buck tag or to get their second buck tag maybe. So it's a good take. It's a good theory, but instead of folks being like, okay, I really need to look at that antlerless deer to see if it's a buck or a doe, it's boom, antlerless down, now I can shoot my buck. Oh, it's a button buck? Shit. That's kind of what they found with the numbers coming in with that earn a buck with some stuff. It can increase numbers, but I think that's also based on the education that's come out there to the more modern hunter, I guess we'll call it. Whereas people understand now that if you let a younger buck or a smaller buck go, they have a higher chance of getting bigger. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case 10 years ago.
Right.
Or, gosh, 20 years ago. Shoot,
definitely
throw it out 20 years ago.
That's good points. I mean, like I said, like with anything, you're going to have your pros and cons to it. Mm-hmm. There's no perfect way of doing things.
Bo comments in says, time to take the bow out of crossbow. The whole idea of opportunity is not what is going on to save our hunting heritage. I think the DEC is focusing on the wrong things to try to keep people involved in hunting. I mean, that is one take, for sure. I think it gives folks that have been hunting their whole life other opportunities to hunt as well. My dad being one of them. Mm-hmm. Is taking advantage of the crossbow side of the stuff. because of age limitations and stuff like that. I think that's a
lot of
great
them
thing.
old school hunters don't want to use a crossbow. They still want to use the old compound,
Yeah, no,
but their body just doesn't really allow them to, and
there's a pride thing too there.
if you're an ethical hunter, you're going to hunt ethically with a crossbow, a compound bow, a
Right.
shotgun, a rifle. If you're out there and you like to stretch the rules or whatever, I mean, you're going to do it with no matter what you got out there. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I think take the bow out of crossbow. Yeah, it again, it all depends on the person. I don't think it's the implement. I think it's the person that's using that weapon.
you still need to be responsible with it.
You still need to be there, responsible, understand limits, understand what the weapon is that you're using, practice with your weapon as well, to give the animal, the respect that it's due. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't, take the bow out of it. I don't think does anything. It still comes back to the responsibility of the person pulling the trigger on the weapon. Dave Todd comments and says, "I'm 60 years old and I'll use my vertical bow as long as I can, but my crossbow is not as quote challenging. My first 2 bullets I ever shot became a quote Robin Hood." There's a lot of stuff to that when you can put it on the rest, put it on the bag, put it on whatever, and if you can put that line on that line, they shoot like darts. I mean, it does.
But
it's archery equipment.
You're making ethical shots. I mean, Dave, I mean, that's kind of what we're touching on. It sounds like you're taking the time to get to know that piece of equipment, get to know that crossbow, and put the time in. Same thing people need to do with their compound. I mean, you got to put the time in. You got to get to know it. You got to know how to use it, know its limitations, know your limitations, know all of this to go out and actually be a safe and ethical hunter.
Yeah.
No matter what you're bringing out in the woods.
Yeah, it's your responsibility as a hunter to do that, to know your equipment, to get a rough idea of your property that you're hunting for, if it can tolerate, shooting X number of deer total, whereas it's like, hey guys, maybe we should slow down a little bit, not pound the snot out of them or fill everybody's tag or, go to different properties, etc. Steve Bogart coming in says, deer, 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 deer.
Yep. Sounds like my son.
Yep. D. Absolutely. Nick Shannon comments in. He actually shot a good buck. I saw on Facebook. Congratulations, Nick. Nice. I think it was a 10-pointer, maybe an 11-pointer, something like that.
Yeah, a few people we know. Opening day got some nice ones.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of nice bucks already hitting the ground.
Yep. So, and again, talking about it, pattern food or something like that, like the one we know, that nice 8-pointer got shot, pattern food.
You had him on camera for months.
Yeah. 100 proof. 100 proof plot.
Yeah, he used the 100 proof mix.
100 proof plot. Nick says, what do we think about September doe season due to the overpopulation but not giving us extra September tags? So it's tough. I'll say this. We can draw, I'll use 8F as an example because that's where I hunt primarily. I can shoot 7 does without extra permits, tags from the DEC.
That's a lot of deer.
A year. So if you're saying that you need to, quote, maintain that population, that would mean you have a population of 21 does on that property just to maintain that number by shooting 7. Whereas some cases that might be the case, but if you split that between a couple hunters, I don't think we need extra tags. I think we just need maybe better, understanding or logistics of those tags to that area. You were talking about this. My buddy Kyle was over here before the show started, and that's why we got a little late start on it. But talking about a specific neighborhood block, etc., where there's just an overabundance of does, And once they get to that over-exaggerated point, it gets hard to bring the numbers down. Whereas, like you said, you tagged out last year over a couple properties. You're not putting all your focus on that. But nobody else is shooting does on that property or that neighborhood, so it's tough to maintain them. And it can be. But I think if you need to reach out to DEC to get extra landowner tags, that's a very specific per site basis.
Yeah.
I don't think you need extra September tags necessarily to satisfy your doe harvest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely you gotta have a bit, like what you were saying, a little bit of knowledge or understanding of what your population is and what you're hunting, because you don't want to go in there and just wipe them out.
Yeah.
And then at the same sense, you have 20 does on average, say, out there feeding.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are 80 to 90% of those does are getting bred.
Yeah.
So next year, if you don't shoot any does,
mm-hmm.
some of those does are going to put out 2. So you might as well, some of those does that put out 2, and there's does that don't get bred. You might as well just say you're going to double that number next year.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then you take, I don't know, predator, cars, and all these other factors that come into
the herd,
the herd, the death of a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're still taking, let's say, half. So if you have 20 deer and then you add 10 onto it next year, now you got 30. Well, now double that number again. 50% more is getting populated. So now next year you don't harvest
45.
deer. You got 45
yeah.
deer on that block, and
mm-hmm.
if not more, and it just keeps rolling. A bigger noise is a big snowball, and
mm-hmm.
eventually it just.
Yeah, and there's dispersal. There's other things, like you said, car mortality. There's other stuff that factors into it, obviously. Hard winters, which we haven't had. We don't have winter kill the last 5-6 years, I wouldn't say, in our area. I don't think it's necessarily leading to extra tags as a whole. I think it would be property specific for extra tags.
Like you said, I mean, there is the option of calling the DC. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and you got to take time to make the phone call, set up the meeting,
have them out there,
have them out there, and for them to give you those nuisance tags or however they explain them. But there is options out there to get more tags. My point of view on the September season, I like it for getting youth out.
Mm-hmm.
I like it for the older generation that can't tolerate the cold, or they're not as mobile
mm-hmm.
in certain terrains and weather conditions, snow, ice, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's more of a chance of them falling. I think it's a great, and the weather warmer, they can get out there and they can actually enjoy a sit for 3-4 hours if they want to.
Yeah, just bring the thermosol.
And then, just to bring a youth out, you're not super serious about it because you're not chasing a buck then, but it's
mm-hmm.
a good opportunity to bring a youth out and get them involved. A kid that's interested in it. It's a good time to bring them out, set them up in the blind or
hedgerow
or wherever, and just sit there and observe. Even if you don't take a doe, I think it's just a good opportunity in that way to involve them into it.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely some pros to the September season.
Mm-hmm. So I think we beat that up pretty good. Dave says, good show tonight, guys. Cheers. Cheers,
Thanks,
Dave.
Thanks
good luck this year. Shoot straight. Dallas says DMAP, so that's the Deer Management Assistant. That's with working with DEC to get extra tags, stuff like that. Definitely, if it's something that's needed in your spot and looking at it with a good perspective and a good point of view on it, it can be needed. But again, a couple years of, quote, intense harvest, like I did probably 6, 8, maybe 10 years ago now at this point, it's something that can be really, really effective over a couple years. And what we started to find out is instead of saying we need to kill 10 does this year, is we let the herd dynamic as we were hunting kind of help us break that down. Whereas when we had a doe group of 5, what we believe to be female individuals of a doe group come through. So let's just say we had 7 come through, 5 we thought were does or doe fawns, and then 2 were button bucks, maybe in that situation. If it was 5 or more female individuals in that group, we took a doe out of it. Bow season, gun season, muzzleloader season, early September, we'll throw that in there too. Doesn't matter. They're not really grouped up in September, but we reduced 5 or more. You reduce the score. Take it right back to grade school. Makes it real simple for folks to remember.
5 or more, take 1.
Yeah, 5 or more, reduce the score. It's easy. That's kind of what we found. And instead of having we get to the last week of muzzleloader and go, shoot, we got to shoot 3 more does to hit our harvest quota. It's we break up these doe groups, and then they define into very much more smaller territories. And does are territorial, bucks are not territorial. And we can dive into this later. Next episode, we'll talk into buck territories later. But does are much more territorial than bucks. So when the does break into smaller doe family groups, you can fit a lot more of them on a landscape rather than one big doe group, family group that takes over a large area, which is something we can dive into later. So 5 or more has been our general rule for this. Try to get through the rest of these comments and get out of here now that it's 9 o'clock. So we appreciate you folks staying with us, but we got to be to work at 6 in the morning. So
I do have one thing to touch on.
Yeah.
Real quick. I know we're running a little over, but I don't know if the DEC sent this out to everybody or if it was just a certain percentage of hunters they sent it out to, or however they did it. But they do have different programs and things instated. They sent me a thing in the mail. It's actually a log. When you go out in the stand, you write the date. You actually fill out what you saw, wildlife-wise, whether it's a fox, a coyote, a doe. You saw a couple bucks that day. You actually log it on this.
The bow hunter survey.
The bow hunter survey, and you actually take that. And if you actually do want to take the steps to, I guess, help the DC and manage the deer in your area, that is something you could do, is actually go through and actually keep that log and mail it back to them, because that's just information. And some people might think, well, that's just them trying to get tabs on you, blah, blah, or whatever. And I don't really think that's it. I think there's actually good intentions behind it.
Yeah.
You go through and you fill out what you saw or possibly you harvested that day. And at the end of the season, you mail it back to them, and they put all that information in their database, and that gives them a better general idea of the population in your area.
Yeah. Help them be a citizen scientist. And again, if we don't say it enough already, guys, report your harvest. Help them get the best, most accurate numbers they can on the deer take.
They're not out to get you.
No.
They're really not.
No. Again, believe me, speaking from experience last year with it, it's definitely something that's been, real challenging for it. So, Steve says Nate's 2022 buck mount looks awesome.
Thank you.
So that's
all
all
very
good.
Much. I was super excited to go pick him up.
Yeah, that was a good time.
I had a lot of camera pictures and a lot of intel on that deer throughout the season, and I just couldn't line it up and then he came out that night and it worked out. But
same night I killed St. Patrick.
Same night, it was one of our sit alerts on one of the fronts rolling in, and he came out while 5 or 6 doe came out, and then he was on the corner of the field hitting a scrape, and then he worked his way up to him, and he was about 130 yards away, and he gave me a really nice broadside shot. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. Ready for the next.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this year brings.
Yeah.
See what I can get out there and start watching those animals move around.
Yeah. So Nick comments and says, this talk show is pretty cool, guys. Good luck to everyone. Time to go out on doe patrol. Yeah, he's out of buck tags here for the archery season. So heck yeah, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. Says I got lucky with patterning that buck. Sometimes, dude, you luck into the right place, right time, hit that pattern right, use that woodsmanship we talk about. We've been talking about that for years.
Sounds like Nick did his homework.
Yeah, absolutely. And again,
Paid off.
I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah.
100%.
There's also is the side of it where, like last year, you and me shot our bow bucks the last week of October, so we missed, a good portion of all that rut activity that we're usually grinding through.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed that last year, sitting back and not having my buck tag in and
it's
out of
November.
my pocket, and it's November, and I'm like, man.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
So there's always that feeling of getting the buck early, but
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if nice mature animal gives you an opportunity, it's super hard to pass up.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Nick.
Yeah. So, Steve, last comment of the night, Steve. We're going to give it to you. Just can't wait to get my first someday.
There you go.
Can't wait, dude.
It's just a matter of time, Steve.
Yeah, if you got any questions, anything like that, Steve, we'd be happy to help, dude. Like, reach out. I know I reached out to you this week. Talk to you a little bit about it. But, yeah, if you got any questions, anything like that, we definitely want to help the folks that are newer hunters and all the way up to experienced hunters, etc. If you can pick up other tips and tactics and stuff that we're talking about,
and you guys can definitely help us.
Yeah, and folks chiming in, giving us little spins too is huge. So,
but yeah, Steve, just hunt smart, put the work in, and it's just a matter of time, man. It's gonna line up.
Yeah. So, thank everyone for tuning into this episode tonight. I think it was a great episode for the first one during deer season.
Yeah. We had to run a little late. It's the first one.
It's the first one of 2023. October. So had to run it a little late. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in with us. All these episodes are over on the YouTube channel, as well as Facebook for you guys to view later. Also on the Bullhorn app, if you ever want to call in, which I figured out you have a little notification tab when folks call in. So we have been watching that tonight. So,
but the bottle was fighting cock.
Yeah, the bottle kill tonight actually was fighting cock. I had about 3 ounces or so left of fighting cock.
If anybody was wondering, I know some of the guys like to know.
Yeah, sometimes. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck to everyone. Be safe. We'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Now that we're in season, we're going to try to hit these every week as best we can.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do one live with one hanging in the
deer shed again.
Shop.
Yeah. So thank you guys. And again, sit alert, not red sirens flashing, but sit alert for this weekend.
Yeah, with the front rolling in.
And we'll catch you guys next week, and maybe we'll have a story to tell or be able to tell your story here on the next episode of 100 Proof Whitetails, guys.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys. Shoot straight.